Hey, it's Brian Bennett. I'm a pastor and I'm also the founder of MultiplyLeaders, a resourcing, coaching, and consulting company that I founded because I'm passionate about helping leaders unlock their potential in Jesus' name. So one of the things I do is I'm a life and leadership coach, and I want to walk you through a growth cycle because I think 2016 could be the year when you crush stuck. And whatever that means for you, whatever that awakens in you, when you even hear that term, crush stuck, what does that do? Where does that energize you? Is that in your home? Is it in your parenting? Is it in your marriage? Is it in your self-leadership with your exercise or your diet or your own just disciplines, the life that you can envision? Is it in your workplace? Is it the way that you interact with another coworker? Or is it being willing to volunteer for a new role that might have more elements of risk than you're 100% comfortable with? Or is it something in your church or your community? Whatever it awakens, whatever it hits on inside of you, inside of your heart in a deep way, I want to encourage you to really think about crushing stuck in 2016. And to do that, I've drawn an S-curve. At the beginning of any level of growth, any level of shifting in our behavior, in our actions, in our attitude, and growing just in our being, not just in our doing, the very beginning is awareness. Until we have awareness, we're not going to make any progress at all. So the first step is getting aware. And we normally get aware from a few different avenues. First of all is just self-awareness. We see our actions, and we're aware of maybe our attitude. We're aware of feelings that we're feeling, and we're not sure why. Or we're aware of failure in our life. But we could also be aware that there's a great opportunity in front of us and that we've got to rise to the challenge. So awareness can have a positive or a negative kind of connection in our life. We also can become aware from others outside of us, a boss, a coworker, a parent, a friend, anybody in our life who's speaking into it. And once again, this kind of awareness could either be positive reinforcement. Hey, I believe in you. You should really think about doing blank. Or, wow, you're so gifted. Have you ever thought about doing? Or it could also be feedback in a growth area, an area of weakness that we need to give some attention to. So that could come from a supervisor, or it could also come from a child. Wherever it comes from, wherever we're getting feedback, we need to value feedback because feedback helps us see our blind spots and helps us see growth potential. Not all feedback is spot on, but almost all feedback contains at least an element of truth. So we need to pay attention to it and listen for those kernels of truth. So awareness is the first step. After we move from the first step, we move into insight. We become aware, we're motivated, we're willing to make a shift. Now we're thinking about, how do I make this shift? What are the resources? Who are the people that I need to talk to? What do you start Googling things? You start talking to friends who have made this kind of shift in their own life or might know someone. And pretty soon we get connected to the right resources, the right people that help us develop a plan, an action plan for how we're going to make this shift. Now at this point, it's easy for us to get stuck because we might have some desire to make a shift, but if we're not committed, and for a lot of us, this is what, as we come up at the beginning of the year, for a lot of us, we'll have New Year's resolutions or some kind of, hey, I want to make this change in 2016. And if we're not fully committed, if we're halfway committed, or if we're doing it for someone else, or we're doing it for the wrong reasons, ultimately we're going to find ourselves get some movement and then hit the stuck wall. And when we hit the stuck wall, it's easy for us to bounce off and just drop it altogether. But for some of us, we're highly committed. And so what do? We push through the stuck wall and we join a gym, right? That's one of the classic things that happens in January. The memberships are going to spike around you. So if you start in January, the gym's going to be full. We go through stuck, we join a gym, or we curb our diet for a few weeks, and we start seeing some weight loss. We start feeling healthier. Or we change our diet, we just are eating healthier, and we start feeling better. Or we change the way that we're interacting with our spouse or our children. We've gotten the insight, we've made the change, and now we're starting to go up. We're starting to see the movement, right? We're really starting to get some traction and momentum. Once again, it's easy for us, though, at this point, even though we're really close to this being a growth area in our life, it's easy for us to get stuck. Because if we don't have the right supports, if we don't have the right schedule, the right rhythm, and if we don't stay focused at this point in the journey, even though we've made a lot of progress, we can hit the wall right here. And that's where you see a lot of people who, they start going to the gym in January, but then come February and March, they fall off. And it was a phase, it was a fad for a moment, but they didn't have the right support beside them. Or they had some their angle on it, the beliefs that they had, the thought patterns that they had. They didn't challenge, they didn't change, they didn't anticipate the obstacles that were going to come. And if we don't do that, then ultimately what we have, we hit stuck levels and we drop off. Now, if we have the right support and the right perspective and the right plan of attack, then we push through these stuck levels, and pretty soon we hit a growth area in our life where this goes from an awareness all the way up to a growth. And then we can start taking next steps in other areas of life that we need to address. So whatever it looks like for you to crush stuck in 2016, I want to encourage you, get really clear about what it is. Write that out on a piece of paper. Share it with someone else. Make sure you have the right support, the right accountability, the right encouragement to support you, whatever that means for you. Everybody's different. And then attack your plan day in and day out. And do this. Remind yourself of the why. Remind yourself of the why constantly, because you're going to be tired. You're going to be frustrated. If it was easy, you would have already done it. So you've got to constantly refuel your motivation level by reminding yourself of the vision that you have for your life and how this fits in, why it matters, why it's worth persevering through struggle, why it's worth getting up early for, why it's worth working hard every single day to accomplish it. Because if you do, you're going to hit a new level of growth. And that will fuel other areas of your life where you're going to hit other levels of growth. Now, for me, I come at this from the worldview of a follower of Jesus. And that means for me, at the core of crushing stuck in 2016 is to do this cycle, to move from awareness to insight to action to growth by doing it in God's grace and by His power. So that means just opening myself up to God every single day, not trying to do it on my own, but receiving His power and His grace over me as I seek to do it. Hey, if you want some help to crush stuck in 2016 as a life and leadership coach, that's what we're here for. I'd love to walk beside you as you seek to crush stuck.